Welcome back to Early Days, brought to you by Prowse Chowne. My name is Jackie Ray, and this is a podcast where we discuss the journeys that shape the leaders and inventors and innovators of today. Today we're going to talk with Catherine Vu of Proactive IT. Your story is one of resilience, innovation, community contribution. The list could go on.
Thank you. Born
in Vietnam and having immigrated to Canada under pretty dramatic circumstances, you've become a leader in the tech industry, where you were kind of an outsider when you started out. Yeah. But you're deeply committed to philanthropy and significantly impacting education and community services. So this is going to be a fascinating podcast. I've been so looking forward to this, so welcome.
Thank you, Jackie.
I guess we have to start at the beginning. You got to share your story.
Okay. So I came here in 1981 after, let's start from the beginning. In 75, the Vietnam War. My family was trying to escape because my dad was a captain of the army, the South Vietnamese army. So if he didn't leave, he would have gone to concentration camps. So my mom says, go. If there's an opportunity for you to escape, go ahead. We'll be fine. And so he left my mom and 3 little girls, 2, 3, and 4, in 75. And thank God he made it out. And then he was on the island, and then he came to Montreal in 1978. And then he also gave us money to buy passage because the sponsorship was taking a long time. So he was anxious to bring us over. And so my mom paid passage, and we got on this boat. And it was an adventure, supposed to be 3 days on this deserted island. And it was 30. And we lived off the land, but I mean, we were young, so for us, it was an adventure. But I'm sure for my mom, it was a lot of stress. It's like, where's the boat? Like, she knows what's happening. We don't know what's happening. Like, for us, we're just there. And so we got caught by the communists and sent to concentration camp for 4 days, and just was released by our own accord to make it home to Saigon, where my mom was living with her family. Huge complex with a lot of people in it, and they didn't give us any money. My mom didn't have any, so we literally made it home from the goodness of the villagers every step of the way. And so then we got home. We lost everything because everything was shipped to the boat, and just waited to be sponsored over by my dad. And in 1981, June 1981, we left Vietnam and showed up in the end of June. And that was 43 years ago.
And you hadn't seen your dad in the 6 years, probably?
No, haven't seen my dad. And literally we got here, and my dad lived in a condo downtown, which coincidentally is the condo next to where I live now with my husband. Like, come full circle or what, right? Like when I met my husband and he said where he lives, I'm like, that sounds such like a familiar address. And I got there, I'm like, oh my God, that's the condo. And just imagine in Vietnam, it's like a lot of people and it's constantly noisy. And you end up in downtown Edmonton in the 80s. It was like very isolating, very quiet. We were by ourselves, like the 4 of us, and my dad would go to work, and we just stay there because it's June, so no school. And it was crazy. It says a lot about you as a person, though, as to what you went through, because that probably marks who Catherine Vu is today. I realize that I have this gift, I call it a gift, of living in the moment and not really stressing out about all the things that could go wrong or all of that stuff. Because, I literally just something would happen and you just deal with that, make the next decision and move on, right? So I never really thought about it. But when you have that, looking back, you're like, oh my gosh, like that must have been surreal. Like, we don't speak English. I mean, when we knew we were coming to Canada, my mom paid for English education, but on the plane, all we know was yes and no. And I was sick the whole time. I used everybody's bags, like I was not, like motion sickness was like, now I'm okay, but in those days, it was a challenge.
You must look back too at your mom and how resilient she was as well. Because imagine what she was going through.
Oh, for sure. I mean, when we came back in 1978, we had nothing. So my mom was like entrepreneur. Like we live in this like a complex, and in front of the complex is like a fireplace. It's packed, and then behind is where we all live. And each family has one room, right? And you share 2 bathrooms in the whole place. And my mom would set a little stool, and she'll sell eggs, she'll sell whatever. And I remember sitting there in the dark, like 9 p.m. with her. And for us, because we're little, it's all an adventure, right? But yeah, my mom would sell all of that, whatever we can to just get that extra until my dad can send us money, right? I mean, we were fortunate to have that because a lot of family didn't even have that. They just didn't have.
Wow. But, yeah. So this is kind of where your entrepreneurial spirit comes from, I would imagine.
I never thought that. I just didn't think I was entrepreneurial. And like I said, I was an accidental entrepreneur, right? I went to school, like from Vietnam, like education's very important to us. So.
And you had to learning English too at the same time,
so
right?
I came when I was 10. My dad wanted to put me in grade 1. And they're like, sir, we cannot put a 10-year-old in grade 1. So they put me in grade 3. And I was in grade 3 from September to April, then grade 4 for the 2 months. And then the next year I went into grade 5. So I was always the oldest in my class. I was also at one point the tallest in my class. That doesn't
that's
a claim to fame I keep holding on to. But yeah, like we really didn't. We just go to school, right? And so I was the first to graduate from university, and it was a big deal. But I didn't even think that because my parents were working, and I said, "Oh, you don't have to go." And then I showed up at grad, and all the parents and everybody makes such a big deal, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I should have asked my parents to come," but I never knew, like I didn't know what to expect. So they were not at my grad. I mean, I was with my friends, but it was stuff like that. It's just, you went to school, university, graduated. There was no jobs in 1994 for me.
Okay, and so what do you do?
So
what did you take at university?
Business.
It was business,
It was the only faculty that makes sense because school comes easy, but I take it for granted that I can just, do well because that's how I went through whole high school. I work hard, but not like I didn't have to work really hard because I can catch things pretty fast. But university is a whole new story, right? So my first year, I almost got kicked out of business because my GPA was like 5.4 or something like that. Because I was just all about gallivanting and having fun. But no, I settled down. And so I was in accounting because I was shy at that time. And I didn't know how to get a job. I mean, I worked at McDonald's from the time I was 14 till 20. Like it paid for my university being at McDonald's. And the training that you got from McDonald's is phenomenal. So always grateful for that and the friends that you get from there. But I didn't really have any experience at getting jobs. And my parents weren't connected to people that could give me a good job like some of my friends were getting, right? So I ended up doing marketing for an IT company owned by an accounting firm.
Okay.
Making $8 an hour.
And this is an accidental entry into the IT sector.
Yeah, and I sat there doing my marketing, which is like publisher thing, and there's a consultant that sits there and they do, but that's in the 90s, so you really need to go out of your office to make any money in IT then. But they were sitting there, so I'm like, I don't know what they're doing, but this is, so like I worked there for 3 years, and we hire a senior salesperson, and he said, you could do this on your own. And I was like, I wasn't thinking that I could because I just never thought to be an entrepreneur. But I went to my boss and I said, I want to work and I want bonus. I've been there for 3 years. And he said no. And I said, okay, here's my resignation. And we left and started a company with $1,000 now credit card. And he taught me to cold call, which is an invaluable skill. Because if you can cold call, you can ask for a lot of things. And my philosophy in life is you're not going to get anything if you don't ask, right?
So you start this company, Proactive IT.
No, it was Proactive Computer Solution with a partner. So from 97 to 2003, I was with this partner. And I did everything. And he just did the accounting. And then he kind of went crazy and said he wanted to shut us down. I was going to jail. I didn't know anyone. I didn't know a lawyer. I didn't have any connection or contact. And I was thinking, oh my God, what have I got myself into? So I called my sister and said, my sister's husband works for, he's a negotiator. So he helped me through that, that partnership battle that I had no idea. I was just so oblivious. We didn't have a unanimous shareholder agreement. We didn't have any of that, right? And but my partner was adamant that he wants to shut down the company. And my lawyer said, that's a good thing because you have a right to earn a living. So let him do it. So we went to court and bought him out and started Proactive IT on August 2nd, 2003. So we just turned 21. And
so now this is your company.
Yeah, and 21 years has been mine. And because I got burned so badly having a partner that I never even considered having another partner because it was just, you learn from that and it's like, it's bad. So it could be it can be lonely and scary to be by yourself sometimes because it's easy to fool yourself, right? Oh, you don't have to do that today. You do it tomorrow, right? Because my issue is I get excited about shiny objects. So it's like focusing is my thing, right? One thing at a time. So that's what maturity had taught me to, just have a plan, do one day at a time, right? And not think, because if I think too far ahead, then I overwhelm and I don't do any of it. So.
Okay. So when you started Proactive IT 21 years ago, you said cold calling was the biggest thing you learned. So do you remember your first big sale?
Oh yeah, it was an accounting firm. And I literally was chasing this accounting firm for 3 years. And they just, we're fine. I call. And then one day he's like, you're up, Catherine. And I'm like, what? This opportunity? So it was amazing. So we were supporting them for years. And then the other big thing was a contract. When I met this gentleman, he's in the construction field I just met him like 6 months ago. And he's like, okay, Catherine, I have this project. This IT company is saying it's going to cost $300,000. Can you do better? And I'm looking at this and I'm like, I don't know. The most I can think of is 100,000. Where am I missing? But 100,000 project was a huge deal for us then, right? Like that was 1/3 of my revenue then, And I was like, oh, am I ready for this? Like, can we do this? And I talked to my tech, and they're like, yeah, this is it's not a hard job. Like a lot of it was hardware, and we took it, and we still have that client. That's 20 years later. He's still our client.
Wow, and a woman and that's especially in the early 2000s. That's a pretty male-dominated industry.
Yeah, it still is.
Okay.
But you know what? Because I never did IT. Like that wasn't my specialty. I don't know IT. So I had faith that all my contractors or people that I met know what they're doing. And I'm just facilitating the relationship with the client and making sure my clients gets what they're looking for. And they did detected I never told them what they need to do. So I feel like that helped me in the IT world because when I met with a male colleague, I have no problem asking them for help or listening and collaborating. I was very open that I don't know what I'm talking about in terms of the IT part. Like I understand the customer challenge because I literally put myself in my client's shoes. Because, in the old days, IT was not a good name. Like people just had a lot of mistrust for it. So I just had this belief that I could be the translator for those people and ease their worry about what is it in IT. Because I don't get it. And as long as it works for me, I can make it work for you. It was kind of like how I started my company. Because it was like the IT people had all the power, and I think that's wrong. Like, you know what I mean?
And they sometimes that side of the brain isn't the entrepreneurial side of the brain either, is it?
Yeah, no, it isn't.
Yeah.
So I feel like my success and how I run my company is my femaleness, like my emotional quotient, you know, like and my intuition and all those things that maybe my male colleagues have, but they don't lean on it as much as I do. And then just really finding a group of phenomenal women, strong businesswomen to align with and to be part of, so that you have that sounding board. So that I was lucky that I got that lesson pretty early. I mean, in 2003, when I realized that I could lose everything of what I built when my partner did that ultimatum, I realized I was very sheltered. Like, I was running my business, but it was very focused on just my business, my client, and me, and not the community so much, right? So it was a dark days, but a good days, because it opened me up to like, what am I missing? Why am I not out there connecting with other businesses? And yeah, so
how did you start when you finally realized that you weren't out there connecting with the businesses? How did you start doing that?
I remember going to the Atchison Business Association event in 2003. And then there was a women business blaster. I don't know how I happened to went to it, but it was all women businesses. And I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. Like, it was such a vibrant, and from there, we met a woman that set us up on a board. And that's how I got into this board and finding a group of women that would help each other grow. But at the same time, at the Atchison Business Association, I met a gentleman, and we just became networking buddies. So he would introduce me in a room for men, and I would introduce him if there was a female that he needed to connect to. So there was comfort, because I was fine one-on-one. It's just intimidating to walk into a room and seeing all these men in suit, and you're like, how do you walk up and approach them, right? And being a woman in an IT, you get hit on all the time too. So then you don't want to approach any group of men, because it's like, you don't know what they're thinking, right? So it's like, it was a huge issue that I had to overcome. But once I had my networking buddy, it was a lot easier and safer to be in a room. And I think that networking is such a phenomenal skill to develop, because we all do business with people we like and trust. And I value that I have a big network, that if someone comes to me and asks for help, I can literally open my Rolodex and do an email introduction easily. And I couldn't have done that in 2003 because I didn't know anyone, right? So the power of it, but sometimes we get so scared to step outside of our comfort zone, right? Like that is, if you can get through that one thing, it's easier. I got so good at networking, I even taught a group of IT guys how to network. But they thought when they read the course, I bet you they thought it was networking, like networking IT, but it was a networking, like how do you do kind of introduction.
It's
but
important.
You know, I only lost 4 out of the room, so that was, I count that as a big win.
So now you've built this network of people that are helping you, you're helping them, which probably is why it led to you going into philanthropy.
Well, philanthropy is kind of different because I have a brother that's 33 with Down syndrome. And when he was born in 1991, I remember we know nothing about Down syndrome. Like even when you go to the library, the words that they use for Down syndrome people should be institutionalized and all of this. And I remember saying to my mom, like, if we were to know how to raise our brother, like Daniel, perfectly, we need to be part of the community. So we were with Inclusion Alberta, Family Voices, Down Syndrome, Gateway. So that's how I started volunteering and stuff. And then in 2003 or 4, I was invited to donate to the Run for the Cure. And so I did. And then the next year I joined this team. And next thing I know, 10 years later, and I'm fundraising for the CIBC Run for the Cure, and our team would be a team of 13, right? And so it was like one step at a time. Like I get invited to donate, and next thing I know, I'll donate, and then the next year I'll participate. And that's how I got to doing the rappel down the Sun Place Hotel for Easter Seal.
Oh,
I was afraid
you did that?
I did that. I was afraid of heights. So I thought, this is a good way to get comfortable. So I got a team of 10 together. We raised money, because you have to raise like $1,500 minimum to go down the building. And I remember going down the building, and the wind started to go. And I was like, my feet, like I could still picture it. My feet was barely touching the wall because I'm trying not to move over. And then it was fruitless. And I just had to say, okay, you're going over the building, just go. I went flying over the other side, and I didn't die, so.
Yeah, you're here today, so it's all good.
So I was like, okay, this is possible, right? So yeah, so I raised money. And you know what, you start doing all this, and you get invited to more things. And then I think the last 5 years, I realized that I would have more impact if I narrow the charities that I support, but put more of myself in it. So not just my time, but my network, my commitment, my money, like everything. So
a little more focus. And if you think, it's funny, your fundraising started, your philanthropy, definitely with your brother, but it really started in earnest when your business started to flourish. They kind of went hand in hand, didn't they?
Yeah.
What is your favorite part of fundraising, or because you're trying to help out the cause, but then how do you go in for the ask?
You know what? I fundraise with my clients. So my clients donated to so many causes that I support. And what I realized is that you can't presume who's going to give to you. You just have to ask. Because, I thought, should I ask this person for this? And then I ask, and they're like, oh my God. And they sign you a check for $500. And you're like, oh my God, that's a lot of money, right? Because that's a lot. And then you ask someone who you think have a lot of money, but then they won't give you because that's not a cause they support, right? So it's, one time I asked a client to support one of my cancer fundraiser, and he's like, I love to support you, Catherine, but I really don't align with this cause. I'm like, well, that's okay then. I'll get you the next one. Because I know there'll be a next one.
But it goes back to your philosophy. If you don't ask.
Yeah, right? So so it's just about asking, and being in business, you have to ask for the sales. But I wasn't good at that because I never believed that I know IT, right? Because I didn't how I started. And then 2012, I got invited, an introduction from a Alberta woman entrepreneur to participate in this, to apply for this it's like an expedition they take to Silicon Valley. So they pick 12 women across the country, and they bring you to Silicon Valley to immerse you into the tech culture. And I got selected for Alberta.
Ooh,
so
that would have been huge.
It was huge. It was like, I say that's the turning point of me realizing that I might not know how to click that keyboard to get the right solution for IT, but I totally understand IT. And I actually am quite good at it because I'm quite logical in how I come to the solution. Like if you say this is not working, this should not work, right? And they're like, oh yeah, that's right. But going there and just immerse in that culture of tech, I came back and was proud that I know tech, and I'm actually pretty geeky and own it and talk about IT more. Because I mean, Joe is in the room here, and he knows I don't talk about business or IT very much at all. And for me to start doing that just shows how far I've gone. I mean, when you think of 2012, that's still 12 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Like that's not that long, but not long. But yeah, it's going there and meeting all these phenomenal female that are very into tech and realize, yeah, I'm in a different tech, but I'm totally, I get what they're doing. I understand it. I'm part of this culture, and then come back and just own it.
And own it. And now, what are your future goals then for Proactive IT?
So the next few years, I'm thinking of succession planning and really solidifying the process of Proactive IT, because we are a unique little company. We're not managed service, but we have a huge client base, and we support a lot of people, and it's me. So how do I instill that and pass it on to someone else, and and just have my team be successful when I'm gone, because I think I'm done with IT.
Okay. Oh.
In the next few years, I'm done with IT. Because I love what I do, but not the IT part of it. Like, it's just people that I love, right?
So we're going to have a part 2 of Catherine Vu. Are we down the road? A new company?
No, I have no idea. I'm not saying that at all. Jackie, I don't even know how that comes by. But my husband wants to retire, and he's older than me, so I told him I would take 1 year off after I'm done and do nothing, and then we'll see.
Then we'll see.
Yeah.
Part 2 may still be to come.
Yeah, and I have a foundation with Edmonton Community Foundation, so maybe the future is just fundraise for that charity, for that foundation, and then really make an impact to a lot of women, children, and people with disability, because that's cause that is close close to my heart. So.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to come to Early Days. What a fascinating story. How far we've come,
I hope I was,
you were
coherent.
Awesome. You were awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, everybody, tuning in to Early Days, brought to you by Prowse Chowne. Remember, Prowse Chowne in the future, whether it's advice on commercial transaction, protecting your intellectual property, navigating employment law, Prowse Chowne has the expertise to guide you. Thank you, Catherine.
Thank you, Jackie, for inviting me here. And Rob.
Oh, okay.
This series is proudly produced by the team at Road 55. Road 55 creates content that connects. For more information, visit our website at road55.ca.